Prairie Dog Investigation. If you are near a prairie dog town, the prairie dogs are talking about you. Prairie dogs call to each other all the time. Whenever animals communicate with each other, it helps them survive. What do prairie dogs call about? Well, they call about you if they spot you near their town. All about prairie dogs. Prairie dogs are not really dogs. They are rodents, like squirrels and gophers. They look a lot like squirrels. They are 30 to 40 centimeters, 12 to 15 inches long. Settlers named them prairie dogs because their calls sound like barks. Biologists now know these calls are much more than barks. Hundreds of prairie dogs live together in underground colonies called towns. The rodents help one another survive. They cooperate to build many connected tunnels and several entrances. Towns have different rooms for sleeping, caring for young, and storing food. Prairie dog warning calls. Each entrance has a lookout that helps the others survive. When a predator approaches, lookouts make warning calls. They also warn their neighbors about when humans are near. They even describe the people and animals. If you come near a town, the lookouts may call you tall or skinny. They may tell the others what you are wearing. Studying prairie dog communication. How did biologists learn about the prairie dogs? How did biologists learn what the prairie dogs were saying? Biologist Kon Slobodchikov studied prairie dogs. He noticed that prairie dogs make different calls for different animals. One call might mean a hawk, while another might mean a coyote or badger. The biologist also noticed that lookouts made different calls for different animals of the same species. They did not just say, hey, a coyote is coming. They seemed to say a big coyote is coming. Prairie dog experiment. The lookouts also made different calls for different humans. Were the rodents describing the animals and people? The biologist called his team to investigate. The team had 4 humans walk through a prairie dog town. Each human walked through it 4 times, wearing a different colored shirt each time. Meanwhile, the biologist recorded the calls the prairie dogs made. Then, the biologists analyzed the calls with a computer. They were amazed. The prairie dogs described the color of the humans' shirts. They described their sizes and shapes, and how quickly they were moving. With one call, the rodents could say a tall, thin human was wearing a yellow shirt and moving slowly. They could even tell whether the human had a gun. These prairie dogs used the most advanced animal language and biologists had ever translated. But Slobodchikov believes that detailed communication is common among animals. He said scientists just need to look for it. Who knows? Maybe your dog or cat has a lot to say. Be a biologist. How did the biologists figure out what the prairie dog calls meant? 2. You are a biologist. You want to know if other animals have communication that is as advanced as the prairie dogs. Which animals would you study? How would you study them?